deck as at the minibus taxis, or below deck on the train station, it could be so much more than it is. And of course, at the what is this? This is probably the eastern end. Yeah, that's the eastern end. The eastern end of the top deck is the formerly historic third class ticket building, and it has been allowed to become completely derelict. Now, we did say to them that we were going to go to court on that building because it was occupied by homeless people, and eventually they have, after our insistence and after fining them and threatening to demolish it and you name it, they have bricked up the entire building. If you go past it now, you will say that all the windows and doors are bricked up. So they have cleared it out, but it's still an eyesore. It's still an absolute tragedy that such a historic, important heritage building is just standing like that. It could be so much more. So again, I repeat the same message. Take responsibility for your property. Give it to us if you don't want it, or you can't take responsibility for it, or do something with it. Get it out to market, develop it, use it for social housing, but do not let it stand as an eyesore and a site of urban decay and crime. And by the way, to city directorates, the city has got a number of properties around the city that various directorates have not properly cared for. Fortunately, we don't have any in the inner city, but we do have some elsewhere. And I meet with our directorates on a regular basis, and we go through the list of problem buildings, both city-owned, small number, and owned by national government, huge number, and owned by private owners, smaller number. And we go through the actions that we are taking on every one of them. And so again, I repeat the message to them as well. We expect that if the residents of Cape Town and the city of Cape Town has funded the investment into a building, that building should be cared for, it should be respected, it should be taken care of, and it should be kept in a condition in which it is able to serve the public. And where it cannot be done, it should be disposed of for better use. And for example, the community hall that we disposed of in Delft to the Western Cape government, which they are now turning into a beautiful new school, is exactly one of those. So that is removed from our list, our monitoring list. Sorry for the long answer, Councillor, but it is a great issue.
All right, thank you. That concludes that section of the agenda. We move to section 3. And before we get to the applications for leave, I just want to record the presence of the different parties in the House. The ANC has 38 councillors, the DA 124. ICCC 6, Cape Exit 1, CMC 1, DI 1, EFF 6, Freedom Front Plus 4, Good 8, PA 3, PAC none, UDM 1, and UIM 1. That gives us a total of 206 councillors present in the meeting, and we have 23 absent. And so I move to the applications for leave. Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and good morning, colleagues. Speaker, the applications for leave today are as follows. Councillor Jacobs. Leaving early today would be Councillor Tandela as well as Councillor Botha Rousseau, and then Alderman Wynberg will leave the meeting at about 10:30. I think she left already, but she will return about 1 o'clock. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Then I see some comments. We will get the Secretariat to check on whether those have already been counted in. Councillor Haynes.
And good day, everybody. Chief Up on our side, Councillor Ntweza on sick leave. Councillor Lombe have a bereavement early this morning, so his leave application is still in process. And I did not hear the Chief Whip mention Councillor Mkutswana. He's also on leave. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bukungwana. Councillor. Those leave applications must all go through the whip's office, but I note that. All right, we move on.
Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. Then we move on to section 6 and we move to the confirmation of the minutes. There's one set of minutes for the confirmation of the ordinary council meeting on the 25th of July, and we start on page 5. And we move through those minutes to page 51. Can we confirm those minutes as correct? Are there any corrections? We've got a proposer, we've got a seconder. Thank you. We will confirm the minutes. We move then on to the remainder of the agenda. And the following items were agreed on. Item in volume 2A, item 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 16. In volume 2B, items 17, 18, 19, 21. In volume 3, item 28 to 40. In volume 2C, is the whole thing agreed? Item 24, sorry, okay. Item 24 in volume 2C. Then in volume 3, item 28 through to 40. And in volume 4, items for noting 55.
In our communication center, 107 center, because that center has now taken over the job of the 10111 that used to be used by SEPS, which is dysfunctional as we speak. That department therefore needs some beefing up in terms of salary budget, so that they can be able to employ more communicators. In the same vein, I want to thank the budget committee for taking into consideration this caucus's appeal for the allocation of money to improve the conditions of the informal PTIs in the townships. That is really appreciated. And I would like to request the relevant directorate to speed up the process of doing that before the next winters. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lunat.
Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Proceed.
Speaker, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Councillor. Proceed.
Speaker, can you hear me? Oh, no, they really start.
Councillor, we can hear you. Now,
Okay.
please speak.
Honorable Speaker, members of the Council, media and fellow citizens, we today discuss the adjustment budget, a crucial instrument intended to realign our resources, especially in times of dire need. Yet we as the CCC must express our deep disappointment at the glaring omission of adequate funding for social development and welfare services in this budget. In our city, the most vulnerable members of our city are looking at us for support. We are their hope, their advocates, and their voice. Yet this budget does not reflect the urgency of their needs. Instead of amplifying our efforts to lift people out of poverty, address homelessness, and support struggling families, we see a continued neglect in the allocation of funds to the very services that could make the greatest difference. We all know the devastating impacts of poverty, inequality, and social exclusion. These issues are not abstract. They are real, tangible, and present in the lives of thousands in our communities. The social development and welfare sector is our frontline response to these challenges, and yet it remains underfunded, undervalued, requires rhetoric. It requires action. We need targeted funding for programs that provide food, security, support for all at risk, especially our youth. Initiatives for women empowerment and services for the elderly and disabled. Let us stop putting our money into toys that is not helping us in combating crime. Let us ensure we spend our budgets where the lives of all is of importance and is made pleasant, safe, and comfortable. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, firstly, I want to register my disappointment also onto this budget, onto this adjustment budget, because if you go to the directorates that are affected in terms of reduction, the directorates that are talking directly to our communities and their needs. The mayor has just presented a presentation here and uploading the directorates of the year spending, but the underspending also here we are discussing today, and the rollovers that must take place, to me it doesn't make sense. And the clean audits the city is always getting, but time and again, every financial year, preparing for another financial year, we must do rollovers. We must also condone monies that are irrecoverable. To me, it does not service the communities of Cape Town. Here we live in a two-state city here. That is the reality of the situation. Once you do a reduction on human settlement and you target the projects that are in the heart of the poor, if I may cite the Langa Old Hostels, that project is coming a long way. That project should have been finished long ago, but to date we are still struggling with the services that equipment was not delivered, invoices were submitted later than the 30th of June. It means in almost all the reductions you have made here as a city, The reasons are purely mismanagement. There is no way you budget money for the whole year, and then at the tail end of the financial year, you did not receive the quotations in time, the deliveries were not made in time, you name them. It is not a service that the citizens of Cape Town that deserves. Also, you go to community services. You listed a whole lot of facilities in this budget that are not going to be serviced in this financial year, planning for them for the rollover. It is not on. That we will never allow to happen to our communities, and we will never agree to what the city is currently doing in terms of budget allocation to our communities. You speak very nicely here. You adhere to IDP projects, but whenever it's time for delivery, there'll be rollovers. Whenever it's time for delivery, there'll be unspent. So I don't know what message are you sending to the citizens of Cape Town as a city which I'm part of, but I will never agree to such an adjustment. So we as the Patriotic Alliance, we will not support this adjustment budget based on that. If you also cite on water and sanitation, since the flooding, before the flooding, we still have our people who live
Councillor Lowe from the Good Party.
Madam Speaker, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Madam Speaker, we all know that this is not a new budget. This is just an adjustment of things that was not spent in the previous year. And I listened to the Mayor in his address and the record capital budget for the 2025 year that we now look from 12 billion to 13 billion. The way that we're going to go now in 5 years' time, we will also have a record capital budget of 20 billion. But that is only because we don't spend the money and we only roll it over. Good does not support the adjustment budget rollover in its current form. As per the last financial portfolio meeting held on the 5th of August, although the forecast on operational expenses was the same as the budget, the June provisional figures indicate that the city was 4.7 billion behind on actual expenditure. Now the reason will be that the invoices was not processed yet. Yet, 3 weeks later, we want to tell the public that the rollover amounts is accurate. The Mayor highlighted the significant rollover of capital funding for carryover commitments from the 23-24 financial year, and to pay close attention to these rollovers to ensure that the affected capital projects are properly catered for and delivered upon. Good and actual spending was only 8.8 billion. That is 78%. 144 million. So where is the balance of the 1.6 billion? The Mayor publicly brags about the City of Cape Town's capital budget that is so much better and bigger than other cities, yet it's not achievable and have not been achieved for years. Nowhere in the rules do I also read that an item can just be removed off the capital budget without approval. There is no items that was approved for the 23-24 capital budget that went through public participation and was approved by this council in May 23. This appears misleading the public, like with your capital records. Good will only support 100% rollovers for work not done. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Chunchi?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. May I proceed?
Thank you very much. Speaker, Mayor, councillors, officials, members of the media and community members, I greet you all in the name of the mighty economic freedom fighters. Madam Speaker, the item before us seeks to adopt amendment proposal for incorporation into the 2024-2025 adjustment budget in terms of Section 28 of the MFMA as contained in Annexure A of the report on the agenda. Now, Madam Speaker, the EFF caucus in the City of Cape Town is against the adjustment budget, not because we are unaware of the situation that we have in our congested of the poor area, exactly that reason stated in the budget. Speaker, we are here year in, year out, adjusting a budget that never gets to be spent on time or in the manner that it ought to be spent. There are many cases whereby the projects are not completed, where projects never get to start or projects proceed at a near stagnant pace, like Guguletu Cemetery Project or the Mahama Project and even the Vosho Informal Settlement Project. And such projects are always the projects of Black and colored communities. And the EFF is over asking the question of why this is. The very reason we deal with gangsters and protection fees and alleged corrupt MMCs and their official and this not being monitored has created a very organized, chaotic system that has directly crippled the entire underprivileged societies, while the city throws its hands in the air in an organized systematic defeat and pardons the monies lost through impact, with fruitless expenditure rendering monies unrecoverable and no accountability with promise of capacity training. And yes, we are expecting as well a clean order from the mayor too in a few months, given his newfound proximity to national, for indeed, in the words of J.P. Smith, it is DA's time to eat. We know well and good in our community all budget adjustments mean money is retracted and projects stopped. As the EFF in the Western Cape, we will never promote such conduct, not under our watch, and therefore EFF is not in support of the item based on the above reasons. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Majingo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good morning, Alderman Mayor, Council. Madam Speaker, our adjusted budget in January was 11.3 million. The actual is 9.7 million. It means our performance is 86%, not 90% as the mayor claimed. The mayor can't appropriate the 655 million as spent because it's committed. If he does it, it means he is front-end loading the amount to boost the performance. Madam Speaker, we wish today to express the ANC's deep concerns and disappointment regarding the excessive rollovers of 944.742 million from the 23-24 budget, both from internal and external funding from these funding sources below. Your capital grant donation of 11.7, your capital replacement reserve of 146.2, the external finance fund of 785.6 million, revenue of 1 million. As leaders, Madam Speaker, it is our responsibility to ensure effective financial management and timely delivery of essential services to our communities. These unspent funds meant for critical projects are instead carried over to the next financial year, hindering our ability to deliver essential services to our communities. While we are extremely disappointed, we are also at the same time happy, Alderman Mayor, that you are heeding the call of the ANC to crack the whip on the executive management team. We will continue to monitor the implementation of the future budget and ensure that it yields the desired outcomes for the communities. We cannot afford to delay crucial projects, particularly in the following directorates: urban mobility, spatial and environment, energy, corporate services, community services, water and sanitation, urban and waste management. These rollovers are a clear indication of a poor financial management, lack of accountability, and a disconnect from the needs of our people. We cannot accept that urban mobility underspends while our roads are riddled with potholes and children are dying on these roads because there are no calming measures. Madam Speaker, we demand the following: a thorough review of 24-25 budget to identify areas of inefficiency. We demand an immediate allocation of these rollover funds to priority projects through verimentation. We demand an enhanced transparency and accountability measures. Lastly, we demand a commitment from the Alderman Mayor to timely expenditure and effective service delivery. We will also not stand idle by while our communities suffer due to mismanagement. We must work together to ensure that our budget serves the people, not just the few. The current situation is unacceptable and wants immediate attention. While we are commending the efforts and hard work of the executive management team, we expect the leadership to take ownership of the issue and work collectively to rectify the situation. Let's get to work. In conclusion, Alderman Mayor, your request to executive management team to pay attention must be converted into a directive. This is again discounting the dedication and diligence the executive management team it has. It is important to recognize them. Let us take action. Let us adjust the budget. Let us deliver to our communities as promised. Together, let's work towards a more efficient, effective, and responsive government that truly serves the people. The ANC, in supporting the recommendation, reiterates its commitment to responsible government and service delivery. Let's do more together. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Mabandiza.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the National and Provincial Treasury require municipalities to apply for committed unspent grant rollovers over the rollovers of the previous financial year by 31st of August each year. This August adjustment budget is tabled before Council so that ongoing contractual committed projects can be continued via interim internal fund until such time as rollover applications for unspent 2023-2024 budgetary allocation can be appropriated into the 24-25 budget via the January adjustment budget. It is proposed that an amount of 96.7 million from accumulated surpluses be set aside to establish a capital replacement reserve for capital grants and donation rollovers. This will provide going conditional grant funds in relation to the capital program, allocation and grant funding adjustment, as well as administrative transfers and veriments. committed implementing our capital program is possible in our country. The 5 August adjustment budget is set out in the relevant tables and annexures. Madam Speaker, can I just quickly respond to some of the speakers that have spoken before me?
Yes, you've still got a few minutes.
Yes, indeed. I mean, for Councillor in the UDM, I can just refer you to page 43 of the adjustment budget. Councillor Lunard from CCC, I think that social development can never be a question if one understands the budget that is being presented before us, because the seriousness of the water and sanitation, pipe replacement, sewer upgrade, urban mobility, these things that we physically see in our communities that the city is doing is indeed social development. I don't think that you really mean that the city should dish out food and then in that way you term it social development while people are running on streets full with sewer. Councillor Sono, Patriotic Alliance, there is no reduction, Councillor Sono. I think you meant to say an increase. There is no reduction, lady. Just check page 66, you will find that there is no reduction. And then Councillor Nchunchev, the EFF, clean audit has nothing to do with proximity. City for many years has been receiving clean audit and there's been no GNU, nothing of close proximity. It is purely good that are not completed. There are various reasons for such projects that not to be completed. And for the money being directed to other areas, I'm not sure where you stay, but if you drive to Lookout Hill in Kailicha, you will see the urban mobility depot being built there and so on. If you go to Wallasteen, you will see Blue Ridge being done, Blue Combos Hall being done, pipe replacements being done in the communities. In all communities in the city, there's no money that's being directed to other communities because there are no communities that are prioritized other than other communities. And for Councillor Majingo, indeed, you will crack the whip. As you correctly say that it was from the ANC's advice to crack the whip. It has been our commitment to be able to hold accountable the executive and for them to achieve on the targets that have been set for them by this council. But other than that, thank you very much for supporting this adjustment budget. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Okay, we need a majority for this. Can I ask that we can move the recommendation? Page 1. And anyone against, other than those that have reiterated that they're not supporting, can put that in the iron box. But the recommendation is carried. Thank you.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, continue.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the ACDP expresses its strong support for the approval of the informal trading plan for Ward 51 and 52. The informal trading sector is a vital source of employment, income, resources, and services for the community of Langa. It plays a significant role in providing livelihoods
The bad winter, we had not forget the sewer overflows in the trading area. And despite numerous complaints, the city refused to assist. Even the benches has been broken for 5 years. But no, as you so proudly say, the city works for all, right? Blita has been promised that budgets will be available from meetings to meeting, including the MERP project. These people even went through the whole process of drafting plans with the city. Then after COVID, boom. The DA run City of Cape Town shows then the middle finger. All the funds was on a plan that you never intended to deliver. We urge the DA lead court administration that Bishop Lavis deserves the same deliverance and request that this ward councillors actually listen to their ward needs and not use a tick box exercise. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, we would like to remind...
Thank you. Your time's up, Councillor Claassen.
Good day, Speaker, and all colleagues. Speaker, today this informal trading plan today seeks the Council's approval. And I have to consider the impact of the relocation the relocation will make on the traders. Speaker, we are not against the upliftment of any infrastructures and community at all. However, there is a couple of concerns that ARA wish to raise. First and foremost, when we personally visited the sites, we actually very different, and most of them are gogos, omas, grandmas, who's providing for their families, grandchildren even. They have no providers in their family, hence they had to fend for themselves and started this businesses, trading, selling meats and all sorts of items. These traders are not getting rich by doing these businesses. No, they're merely surviving and can now afford the basics of life. Speaker, the cardinal fact here is this. When we move these trading areas as well, we will negatively impact the revenue of these traders to almost not being profitable at all. The reason they built the informal trading spaces was to be close to their customers. Now, we know that spaza shop food outlets must get the most important things right in their businesses, and that is location, location, and again location. And when we move the location, the fundamentals of these businesses and their livelihoods will be destroyed. Speaker, how can we say we are a caring city that promotes jobs and job creation, and yet here we want to move traders in risking these businesses? Again, we are not against the upgrading of these businesses or their trading platforms, but the moving of them will become an issue. So upon engaging with these traders, we found it's not the permits or the trading spaces that they have an issue with, it's simply the relocation of them. These gogos has been trading for quite a while there, and they will definitely lose their. It has a bad record and history of forceful removals to benefit own interests. And we can start naming if you like, but however, why don't we turn the narrative around this time and come alongside these traders? Let's help them to get compliant by ensuring they don't lose their trade. This will benefit the city and restore its name in these communities. It will bring hope and a new reverence for this administration. Alderman, the force is always busy with the economic system. We can help the economy. However, why don't we show compassion, care, and help them to build better trading spaces where they are so that they can profit? Speaker, these people are about to lose a lot of revenues, and they can even lose their businesses. Their households will suffer. Are we caring enough to do, or we just want to apply the legislation? We say let's start to care and live up to the name of this city, and let's relook at how we can help these traders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Stuurman.
namane naklinyanga yawo thina singumbutho we-EFF sitsho sinyanisile xa sisithi siyavuyisana namanina.
Councillor?
Asivuyisane nawo manina only
Councillor Stuurman?
We-9 ka-August.
Councillor Stuurman? Can we just allow the interpreter? Councillor Stuurman, we can't hear you very clearly. Can you try again? Councillor Stuurman? All right. Councillor Stuurman, we can't hear you. Do you want to try once more before we move on to the next speaker and try again with you after that? All right. Councillor Picardi?
I just want to firstly just clarify a few things before I get into my address for today. From the previous speaker from ARA, I think we must make it categorically clear that we've had a lot of engagements with the traders in our community with regards to this trading plan. And this trading plan is widely accepted as it is going to improve the quality of the standard of where these old mamas that Councillor was speaking about are currently working. As people who grew up in this community, we know how the women who forage different spaces trying to find employment are struggling. We have seen how these old women have been consistent in how they've been providing meals to the community as a form of business for them, have been working throughout the years. And this trading plan seeks to acknowledge the work that is being done by mostly these women and men who are trading in our community. So to say that we are trying to move them and they're going to lose income is not necessarily correct. In the instance where we are starting to build this trading plan and starting to build stalls, there will be alternatives that will be made. For example, in one of the trading sites, which is in Road Street, we have agreed with the traders there, which I am assuming that it's some of the traders that Councillor was engaging with, that they will be moved right opposite the road reserve, so that the space can be cleaned and so that this trading plan can also be implemented. So this is a great opportunity for the community of Langa. We as councillors in the area, Councillor Tembelani Nyamagazi and myself, have been working very closely with the sub-council and other stakeholders within the city to ensure that...
Thank you, Councillor. Your time is up. Thank you. Councillor Steelman, are you available to try again? Councillor Steelman? All right, then we conclude with Councillor Sulelo, and then the Mayor would like Alderman Force to respond. Thank you, Councillor Sulelo.
Thank you, Speaker, and good morning, colleagues. I was going to touch on the concerns that were raised by the previous councillors, but Councillor Pagade has covered me very well. It is indeed true that a lot of work and consultation with the traders in Langa has gone. For, I think, over a year, we've had engagements with the traders in Langa. And to say that people are being moved, therefore they will lose income, it just shows that maybe the didn't really read the item, because if you look at the comments, mostly from the traders, they support the trading plan. The only concerns that were raised is that maybe they thought that they were going to lose their trading base and they were going to then not be allowed to trade. But that is not the case at all. If anything, the city is going to add more trading base and is going to improve their lives. And I would like to move the recommendations on page 80 and 81.
Thank you. Alderman Force, is there anything you wish to add to that, or has Councillor Siselo covered you?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. She has indeed. Just to add that the department is also busy with 2 markets that are currently being considered for the development. The number of trading opportunities will then be increased, and the trading plan will be reviewed in the future to accommodate these new trading opportunities. We are also working with AfriFood Links in terms of the project regarding the Langa informal meat market opportunities. And so with this new trading plan, it will boost trading conditions, opportunities for more traders to earn a living, and it's 110 new bays that will become available. And certainly it is the aim with the trading plan to improve conditions and specifically for the long term to also include these 2 new markets that will really add another depth and dimension of trading opportunities in Langa. So the trading plan is really a tool to achieve this outcome, and specifically around making trading much more accessible and making it more dignified. So that is the purpose of the trading plan, and then the department will be working closely with the community and the traders to achieve those objectives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The recommendations on page 1. All in favour of the recommendation? Those against the recommendation? Thank you very much. We move on. The recommendation is there is Councillor Janse van Freedom Front Plus. Councillor Janse van Vuren, are you there? We see you in the meeting. All right. Councillor Gabuza, we'll come back to you, Councillor Janse van Vuren. Councillor Gabuza.
Good morning, Speaker and fellow councillors. The following engagement will base its debate on the recommendation made by the Executive Mayor, which seeks to highlight the importance of taking into consideration the proposed bylaw amendments and some sort of provision as well. All this proposal seeks to address the question of the land use across the city of Cape Town. This includes land used by informal trading, home of worship and place of instruction. The city development management checks all building plan applications to ensure compliance with the DMS if they identify any authorized building work of land use of property. The controversy needs to be rectified. all use and planning application are made in terms of bylaw, as much as we are full behind the support of proposed bylaw and its recommendation, which seeks to preside over the land use by providing proper guidelines and compliance. It is very much important to educate the public about this upcoming proposed amendments, and it is city duty to engage the public to participate and to share their sentiment too. It will be totally incorrect to exclude public opinion, especially where there are some penalties involved when one encroaches the land without being informed of the boundaries. So it is a city responsibility to bring the information to the public, space for awareness and open channels to the public participation so that they may be given an opportunity to familiarize themselves with the new amendments.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Young. Yes, continue, please.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, Mayor, fellow councillors. Before I speak to the item, as it is my maiden speech, please allow me to thank the voters and my party, the Freedom Front Plus, that afforded me the opportunity to serve our community. Community is my absolute priority, and as such, I will serve the interest of all of the community in the execution of my function and responsibilities. Speaking to the item, Madam Councillor, the Freedom Front Plus support the recommendations that will enhance ongoing efforts to realize efficiencies within the process of addressing the spatial planning in the city and fix imbalances that might have still exist. We are pleased that the bottlenecking will be freed and the decision-making will be delegated to the districts, which absolutely supports the Freedom Front Plus's vision of more localized services. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Speaker. Am I audible?
Yes, continue.
Okay, good morning, colleagues. Good morning, everyone. The item before us asks us to consider the identification of categories of contraventions to the municipal bylaw, the MBPL of 2015, subsections 130.2 and 130.3 for exemption. Colleagues, when we look at these items, we were asked to please refer to Annexure A and Annexure B, where a map of strategic demarcated areas have been identified that can benefit from these applications for exemptions. The exemptions that we are looking at will significantly improve the communities in these areas and ultimately seeks to exempt the administrative penalty to not apply on the following categories of structures of land as outlined in these changes. This is great in that they will really enable the city to pursue its small rent program, as well as to assist places of worship and ECDs where they may be facing administrative penalties within these areas as they try to regularize. I believe the exemptions from the city will aid residents as they go through improving their properties, and therefore it is our recommendation that the category interventions, as well as the map in Annexure B, are to be prescribed as contraventions to which the provisions of Section 130.2 and 3 of the City Municipal Planning Bylaw 15 do not apply as set out in Annexure A. I move this item.
Thank you. The recommendations on page 82, all in favor of the recommendation? Thank you. The recommendation is carried. We move on to item 7, and the first speaker on this item is Councillor Botha Rousseau.
Good day, Speaker, Mayor and Councillors. Freedom Front Plus agree with the initiative to work with public and private sector stakeholders in the creation of quality temporary jobs and training opportunities for the placement of participants in the EPWP program to external organizations for the 3-year cycle in June 2027. The MOA should include real and effective supervisory responsibilities to ensure that workers thus appointed are effectively and productive utilized. I say this because councillors frequently receive complaints that these workers do not adhere to working hours or simply loitering without doing any work, and while they are unsupervised. For the recommendations as set out on page 95, under item 07082-2024. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Cotti.
Good morning, Speaker, Mayor, councillors, officials in the public. EPWP objective is to alleviate poverty through employment programs across the city, and the Directorate focus on waste services department cleansing and recycling initiatives. EPWP program was launched 20 years ago by ANC Minister Kader Asmal, may his soul rest in peace. EPWP program for 2022-23 financial year, the city provided almost more than 23,000 job opportunities, 124% target reach. Further, by end of May this year, 41,761 jobs were created, spread through 668 different projects. Those 41 ended more than 4 million rand went into local households that needed it most. Various awards this year have been meaningful and positive impacted. I can list a few: EPWP social sector project, Beats Buddies project, which employed people with disability to reach awareness and educate residents with the consequences of reckless driving and dangerous beaches. Other project was also environmental and cultural project. It's called Kader Asmal Skills Project. Other project also is rapid development and initiative program, creating EPWP participants in youth ambassadors. EPWP Skills Project also includes law enforcement, auxiliary social programs. The project also employed 44 unemployed youth to build their knowledge of skills so that they become facilitators and tutors and learning programs in local schools and libraries. And I must also admit that I saw this particular EPWP program for myself, Speaker, in Ward 94 with the Empowerment Entrepreneurs program, in Ward 94 with the hardware store in clothing production manufacturing, which Alderman Grantwick also attended. Speaker, regarding this 130 650 in total, that's on page 109. I want to propose that that if you divide that particular amount of money, disadvantaged wards, 2 million can be allocated to per ward, 30 EPWP at a cost of 1,200, which will be sustained employment in the city workforce. Will also include park body street people, driver's license, computer youth ambassadors, plumbing, electric. Speak item, the 7 million rand allocation to the service provider in terms of section 76, outsourcing of the NGO. Last year, I must also admit that last year the same NGO received 18 million, which was not accountable in total. On page 379 of the booklet 2024 Directorate Executive Summaries and Scorecards, it says participating in public employment programs in partnership with external partners. Speaker, the ANC welcomes the report and also also the annex.
We will take up the issues that you've raised. To Councillor Cotti, yes, this is a very important project that has been rolled out from national, but best implemented within the city of Cape Town under DA control. Speaker, the item, in fact, does not the EPWP, allowing the relevant departments to enter into a memorandum of agreement with external organizations for the placement of participants on the expanded public works program. It is our dedication to foster job readiness outlined in our IDP, which emphasizes creating quality temporary jobs and meaningful training opportunities in partnership with the public and private stakeholders. Today's report before Council aligns perfectly with the strategic vision, enabling us to not only place EPWP participants with external organizations, but also significantly enhance their skills and employability. Over the past 2 decades, the EPWP has emerged from a humble beginning focused on poverty alleviation. And I think we all can remember when our EPWPs was just going on 3 months employment opportunities, and then they had to go and stand in the queue again for another session or stint as an EPWP employee. What we've now done as a city of Cape Town, and again, Councillor Cotti, under the DA-controlled administration, we've actually enhanced and gone through the process in upskilling our workforce, but also our residents in general. So, Speaker, what we want out of today's meeting is basically just for Council to approve this item in order for the officials to start the process of engaging with the external organizations and use the skilled EPWP employees so that we can either place them or they can seek alternatives outside in the private sector. So we're asking Council to approve this item. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. The recommendations on page 95. Can we approve the recommendation? Thank you. The recommendation is carried. We move on to item 15. And the first speaker to this item is Councillor Gubulana.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings to the party leader and Chief Whip. We send our greetings to the Commander-in-Chief, Julius Salomalema, and the leader of the African Revolution for Economic Emancipation. Speaker, we have been called we have been called to come as Council to consider the sale of Air 56679 in Khayelitsha Ward 99. We see the city is depending on the wrongly drafted and badly worded Constitution of South Africa to release this piece of air. This unconstitutional constitution, instead of being instructive, is how the local state can release the land to custodians of our children's education. It subjects us to some capitalist mark logic wherein the local state disposes land of the provincial government at a price instead of a nil compensation. One should ask why City of Cape Town not giving the Western Cape government the land for free. In doing so, the fund for paying the land would benefit the young people who are born with no privilege. Let's state the fact: children who attend Guyaso primary school from a poor background, and education is their light at the end of the tunnel. But one must be honest and say they don't have the privilege that children of age mid-primary have, including the quality of schooling benefits. The EFF must be clear that our young, who are the future, would get the same privilege that our mayor here in the city of Cape Town got when he was primary. When one looks at the amount we are talking about, you can say it's not much, but to a child who has no sports field, no science lab, no library, and many other things, 300,000 and 325,000, it's a lot. It's a lot. I must say, at this moment, one did expect that there will be a massive noise around the one who left the EFF without giving some attention on the fact that it's Women's Month. I mean, a man left. So what? It was here in this council when Patricia Jalil left the DA. How can we forget Phumzile van Dam, Mbali Ntuli, and of the home of the marginalized masses of the poorest, and they
thank you,
and the landless.
Councillor McQueen.
Thank you, Speaker. Am I on?
You are. Continue.
Oh, thanks, Madam Speaker. Greetings to you, Madam Speaker. Greetings to the mayor and everyone. Greetings to the councillors. Madam Speaker, we must highlight that as the ANC, we fully support this item. But this item, Madam Speaker, has lays bare the hypocrisy of the DA, as it always blames national government for delaying transfer of land and always uses that as an excuse for not delivering projects. Here is a land that has taken more than 2 decades to transfer it from a DA-led City of Cape Town to a DA-led provincial government. This has nothing to do with policy, but your internal political infights and squabbles that affect service delivery immensely, more so to the poorest of the poor, who can't get clinics and other amenities. The city says this the selling of this land will release and will ease or remove the burden of having land. The city must tell no lies and claim no easy victories. Just recently, that site was covered by human feces for months, and the city was nowhere to service it. There were references after references, but not forthcoming from the city, as it is the same situation right now. As it is in the same, it took parents to stand and say enough is enough at the expense of their kids' education when they shut down the school. Maybe even this time around, that is what it will take to respond to all the references in and around that school. Madam
Thank you,
Speaker,
Councillor. Thank you, supporter. Thank you, Councillor Anstey.
Good morning, Speaker. Thank you very much. I'm just, unfortunately, Councillor Tandeko was unable to. I just want to respond to the EFF Speaker to say that we've explained why we sell land at a nominal rate many times in past meetings, and I really encourage you to go back to all the old council meetings and to go and read why the reasons we sell the land for this amount and not waste our time in this council meeting after council meeting. And since she's so concerned about the people, I wonder if she's concerned about the account holders at the VBS Bank. Speaker, I'd like to move this item. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The recommendation is on page 345 and 346. Can we move the recommendation? Thank you very much. We move then on to volume 2B. And the first item that we're going to talk to is item 20. And the first speaker there is Councillor Little. Councillor Little.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today we're dealing with one of those important documents for response. The Constitution stipulates that state organs must follow principles of fairness, competitiveness, and cost-effectiveness when contracting for goods or services. However, it is difficult to expect communities to adhere to these principles when they have not had the chance to provide input to a policy that would direct and give them that economic opportunity. Is the city not embarrassed by receiving only 7 comments? The DA continues to hoodwink the public into believing that the city has a public participation process when what we have is a SOP. Nowhere in the which determines how public should be engaged, only stating on page 156, paragraph 157, that the bid invitation shall be by notice published in the media and any electronic platform that may be applicable or suitable. However, the Municipal Systems Act Chapter 4 provides clear guidance when developing a culture of community participation, going as far in paragraph 17.3 to say that those who cannot read or write, people with disabilities, women and other disadvantaged groups must be taken into account. But on a supply chain amendment policy, we are not going to support this. We received and will approve this item with absolutely no regard for those whom we have excluded. The only conclusion I can come to is that the general public is not here to participate in economic opportunities. They are here to vote. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor McQueen.
Thanks once again, Madam Speaker. Am I audible?
You're audible. Please continue.
Okay, thanks, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to fundamentally reject this item. Madam Speaker, first of all, when the ANC government took over, it understood clearly when it came into power in 1994 that political freedom has no meaning without economic freedom. Hence, they had to come with progressive policies like the broad-based black economic empowerment to redress the imbalances of the past. It is with great sadness to see the DA wanting to repeal such a progressive policy from the SCM policy amendment. The DA-led city of Cape Town must know that freedom is a byproduct of economic surplus. Therefore, they must know that the economically excluded and marginalized blacks in general and Africans in particular, when they are perpetually suppressed and suffocated and see death glaring, will have no choice but to either fight or surrender and die in a silent death. I believe they will choose to rise and fight. The haves are the ones who will stand to lose, and others who say our African brothers and sisters must be deported, maybe chased to the sea, as that was their point of entry in 1652. That is, if the DA-led city continues to formulate and adopt policies that are anti-redress and oblivious to the history of this country. We can never forget that for centuries, whites have amassed wealth, in fact have stolen from black people and deprived black people their wealth. We want, and we also reject this based on, we want all people to have their hands on deck in fighting institutionalized crime and corruption, and want people to report corruption and crime wherever it glares its ugly head. But this policy change by the DA-led city wants us to move from reporting any alleged crime conduct to only report when necessary, report alleged criminal conduct to serve. This will open a can of worms for people to be corrupt and also
come up with criminal elements. You want local to mean South Africa and not Cape Town. That will deprive local contractors like JD, Glass and Aluminium from Mitchell's Plain that is doing a great job in the
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Witbooi. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Witbooi.
Thank you, Speaker. I greet the Mayor, all our councillors, and I especially want to extend my gratitude and thanks to our CFO, his team, all the councillors serving on the Finance Committee for diligently working through this proposals that we're putting before Council today. Yes, it's true that this is fundamental to economic growth and economic inclusion within the city, and it's a testament to the growth of the city that our predominant service providers are from the previous advantage background, Speaker. Speaker, when a councillor refers to public engagement that failed, it is an acknowledgement by that councillor that they are failing. And yes, indeed, it is proven to us that Councillor Little has failure in provincial parliament. She's been a failure when she served at the Democratic Alliance, and she keeps on failing, councillor. In terms of our municipal supply chain management regulations 3(1)(b) and C, the city manager must at least annually review the implementation of the supply chain policy, and when considered necessary, submit proposals for the amendment of the policy to Council. On 8 April 2024, the Finance Portfolio Committee granted approval for supply chain to commence on the public participation process, which commenced on 1 April to 10 May. The supply chain policy is a living document, and even though there's a window period, this policy is reviewed annually, and hence the public can at any time provide comments or suggestions on this policy. After taking into consideration comments received emanating from the public participation process, one proposed clauses were removed and some minor changes were made, which is included in the pages 49 to 51 of Annexure B. There was a total of 7 comments received, and yes, I would encourage councillors across the board to make their recommendations to the finance portfolio on the changes that they want to see. However, if people are happy with the policy, it can also be reflective on their participation in the process or refraining from commenting on the process. This policy is in line with our strategic objectives. There is no financial implication, Speaker. It is legally sound. It has no legal implications. Staff, there's no staff implications. All the risk factors has been considered, and therefore I move that Council accept the recommendations as tabled by our finance portfolio. So move, Speaker.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 98. All in favour of the recommendation, please indicate. Thank you. The recommendation is carried. We move on to item 22, and the first speaker there is Councillor Mabiza.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker.
Carry on. Good afternoon.
Councillors and members of the public. Madam Speaker, as an ANC, we support the application to amend the business plan of the Wynberg Improvement District. However, we are saying as the ANC, the disadvantaged areas like Mfuleni, Kailicha, Delft, Mitchell's Plain, Danon, Hanover Park, Manenberg must be prioritized, and more funds must be allocated to close the gaps between the poor and the rich, so that this business plan in these areas must be implemented. We thank you. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Langenhoven.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As the Ward Councillor for Wynberg in Ward 62, I wholeheartedly approve and support the expansion of the Wynberg Improvement District. This is the third expansion. This third expansion is a testament to the service provider, Geocentric, and their team for the hard work and sweat that they have invested into holding back the tide of urban decay over the past 2 decades. It is also a positive reflection of the community's perception of the Wynberg Improvement District and the work that they do. I would like to acknowledge the work of the steering committee consisting of the dedicated and active citizens of Wynberg who have navigated this process and made this expansion possible. The members of the steering committee are Kira Lee Kunert, Sebe Ratsebitse, Eric von Bratt, Richard Key, and a very special thanks to Nancy Krish, who has been the driving force behind this expansion and has been a very active role player in the Wynberg community. Madam Speaker, this expansion will see further value-added services being provided to a greater part of Wynberg Ward 62 community and will see the restoration of this historic area. My vision for Wynberg is encapsulated in my slogan, Wynberg 2030, Shaping Tomorrow Together. This vision sees the regeneration and growth of prosperity in Wynberg through investment which is well underway and the preservation of historic significance through active community participation. Wynberg is alive with opportunity, and I will continue in my efforts to see the restoration of this vibrant community, property by property, street by street, block by block, until the very last day of this term. The expansion of the Wynberg Improvement District is one more milestone that will see the Wynberg vision realized. It is with this in mind that I ask this Council to support this item. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 318. And can we move the recommendation? Those against, please indicate. Thank you. The recommendation is carried. We move on to item 23, and the first speaker there is Councillor Dzani.
Morning, Speaker.
Morning, sir.
Afternoon, sorry. With a pinch of salt, the ANC supports this item with serious concerns with the public participation process and its rollout. As much as certain community platforms tools was used, it was not extensively and broadly done in terms of tools available in our communities, used in key constituencies with large numbers residing in them. The lack of resources and capacitation of our sub-councils, particularly those with large numbers, to carry out the important public participation, and the majority of those communities gets deprived. The policy itself is not being found in all three official languages in the Western Cape, and only in English. This also gives a flawedness taste to it and to the process. A Xhosa and Afrikaans version be produced and made available as soon as possible, as we all know that this process will not be redone and will simply be just bulldozed in the process. The language used in the document seeks to exclude sections of the society by using a high-leveled academic wording that could seek to indicate a hidden intent in the wording that won't benefit the growth and the integration of communities. And we hope that this process won't be used to enrich the Zionist community of Cape Town and certain selective section of companies in the Western Cape. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Franklin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Despite the nitpicking of the previous colleague in the Council, it gives me great pleasure to put forward to this esteemed Council the recommendation from the Executive Mayor to adopt the updated and refreshed City of Cape Town's Urban Design Policy, Item 23. It is vital that this policy, which affects every single resident of our magnificent metro, not just our people, is periodically reviewed to ensure our urban landscape is relevant, responds appropriately to development trends, aligns with the goals and objectives of the IDP, as well as the Sustainable Development Goals, which underpin our success as a livable city. After targeted engagements with stakeholders and communities who stepped up to add value to the public participation process, the administration is confident that the correct amendments were made to the initial draft. A specific and welcome request was made to safeguard and enhance cities' tree canopy cover and to sensitize all role players within the land use process as well as urban design. This has been done. The policy objectives are, and let me be clear, 1. Ensure spatial, legible structure, create good quality open space through placemaking, contribute to the creation of healthy and safe communities for all residents, promote intensity, diversity and adaptability of uses, ensure positive interfaces into the public realm, provide support to sites of informality, value and enhance green open spaces, and to respond to the specific character and identity of an area. This urban design policy, once approved, will provide guidance to planners, landscape architects, development designers, architects, landowners, green space custodians, engineers, policymakers, officials, residents, and last but not least, small business owners. With this in mind, I move that we adopt the policy. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 539. All in favour of the recommendation? And then those against and those that are abstaining. Thank you very much. We move on. The recommendation is carried. The next item is item in volume 2C, item 25, and the first speaker there is Councillor Boete Rousseau.
I just want to scroll to my document. Thank you. Good afternoon, Speaker. My councillors and residents. I'm speaking on Woodstock and Salt River Local Spatial Plan, a development framework. Let me be clear that the Phrase Front Plus fully supports the impressive design and vision of the proposal for Woodstock Salt River Spatial Development Framework for development of an efficient, multi-purpose, mixed-use community. We need to warn, however, against allowing social housing being infiltrated by criminal elements, such as gangs and drug lords. We have examples in the city of such criminal-infected areas in Cape Town, and the community leaders must be very strict and not allow criminals in the area. The mixed-use areas. We note and accept the public participation report. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. The next speaker, Councillor Ahmad Al-Jamar.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Am I audible, Speaker?
Oh, carry on.
Speaker, looking at the above item, I find it extremely exciting what we've done thus far, and having studied from page 605 till 608 is what Al-Jamar has been advocating for the past umpteen years, looking at a proper smart city. Speaker, I assume that I'm pretty much the only one currently sitting here in this council today who was born and raised and walked, not to mention being robbed in these areas. To me, this was and shall always be amongst the best places in the world. Having been amongst the last teenagers being politically arrested and evicted from our beloved District 6, all the above mentioned, knowing what we've been through and unbelievably still fighting for accommodation back in District 6. Looking at all the challenges that this gentrification project will be facing, I hope this city of Cape Town has the capacity to research and needs analysis and thus to overcome whatever challenges it will face. We are well aware of the obvious overpopulation in Cape Town alone and how our infrastructure is ill-equipped to deliver service. How are we proposing to not just overcome the congested traffic issues of the Woodstock Lower Main Road leading to the Salt River Circle and further on to the bridge? Adding to this congestion may not be a very wise idea. And as we must ensure housing for all, we must also consider the residents, businesses and community structures that already exist here. This taking me to the next point. Apart from us, the coloured folk, we were forcefully removed from District 6, where we are still being pushed into underdevelopments like Blikkiesdorp 20 years later. Well done, democracy, works for some. Experiencing the Bromwell Street catastrophe and those people who are still residing in Wolvergat. Do you see where I'm going with this, Speaker? It's the same question in red flags. Hordes of people who were placed on waiting lists with the promise of adequate housing, which we were told would elevate our poverty-stricken living conditions. Here we yet again. Same conversation, different day. And the alternative accommodation for people who will be removed from these three areas to accommodate the new fairyland. Are we prepared to allow informal traders to continue trading without being victimized by law enforcement? With the influx of residents for these mixed-use housing ideas, do we have the capacity for new schools and enough educators to practice within these facilities, as we already under-servicing, sometimes over. Currently, in this, at the police stations, how are we going to deal with these uncontrollable crime stats within the city of Cape Town? I can assure you that adding to the numbers will not help our already overwhelming ever-increasing. Where's this item to be referred? Given great consideration and only until...
Councillor, thank you. Your time's up. Councillor Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you to Councillor Poteraso for the support from the Freedom Front on this item. I'm a little confused with Councillor Ahmad because most of what he spoke about had nothing to do with the actual LSDF. I also don't from Salt River and Woodstock in the council, and District 6 doesn't form part of this particular LSDF. So I'm not sure what he was getting at there. But Speaker, I'll be very brief on this topic. The Salt River Woodstock Spatial Development Framework speaks for itself, taking into account what has been and what could be. With the rapid expansion of the Cape Town CBD into Woodstock and Salt River, it makes the area prime to get into this, at the same time allowing for the growth and development into the precinct. It also highlights the need for an ecological corridor from the mountain to the sea, taking into account that people need to live and thrive in this area and not just reside there. Soon be positioned perfectly on major transport routes and close to economic activity. Speaker, Cape Town is moving into the future with this framework. Strong foundation. I recommend that Council adopt the Woodstock Salt River Local Spatial Development Framework. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 555. Those in favour of the recommendation is carried. Thank you very much. We move on then to the next item, item 26, and the first speaker here is Councillor Steenberg.
Good morning, Speaker. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning to the residents. The Patriotic Alliance supports the authorization to commence with a public participation process in respect of the proposed sale of land for the purpose of mixed-use development. Speaker, the report states that mixed-use development will include affordable housing, and given, Speaker, in a time like this where thousands of Cape Townians are in need of decent homes, integrated with the much needed play and work opportunities, we must support this process as it will benefit those who fall within the affordable housing criteria. Speaker, colleagues, the Patriotic upon those who participate in extortive construction industry to refrain from hindering development within the city. It is the very people of the city that ultimately suffer due to extortion. Speaker, we hope that if this authorization granted by Council, that any form of crime not mar this particular process. Our people, Madam Speaker, need houses that they can call homes. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Kleinschmidt.
Thank you, Madam
Speaker, good afternoon, greetings. Madam Speaker, we thank the Mayor for addressing this issue and this item during his opening speech. This item seeks to alleviate the housing crisis and stimulate economic growth in Ward 60 and also in the wider city. This item seeks to request Council's approval to hold a public participation in respect of the proposed sale by the public competition of the said urban, which is situated on the corner of 7th Avenue, Cromboom Road and the M5 for the purpose of mixed-use development. Madam Speaker, the public participation process is in line with the Council's municipal asset transfer regulations. The vacant land measuring approximately 6.7 hectares is located in a prime location for affordable housing and business and is in close proximity to transport nodes, shopping centers and amenities. Madam Speaker, I thank Councillor Steenberg for their support of this proposed development, and I hereby seek Council to authorize the public participation process of this item. I so move, and I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The leader is Councillor Popham.
Oh, yes.
No, thank you, Madam Speaker. I think a lot has been said, and I really want to appreciate the bipartisan support of Council for this item. I think it's just perhaps critical to highlight that at this juncture, we are currently green lighting and and to engage and commence in public participation, and I look forward to doing that meaningfully and constructively with particularly the local community surrounding the urban, as well as the broader residents who participate in the city. And I want to appreciate the extensive hard work conducted by the Human Settlements Directorate, particularly Edie Nwande, as well as the entire Human Settlements team, as well as Affordable Housing Unit, for driving this on such an accelerated basis. We are moving towards land parcel number 7 since the initiation of the Mayor's Priority Program, and I think it's really important to take cognizance of that every time we approve such items. So I certainly the broader Municipal Council for its bipartisan support, and we look forward to making sure we release this urban on land in the best interests of the residents of Cape Town. There you go.
Thank you. The recommendations on page 981. Are we all in favour of the recommendation? Thank you very much. Then the recommendation is carried, and we move to item 27. And the first speaker here is Councillor Natwala.
Speaker, I rise today with the good councillors of Cape Town to oppose and reject this item. I also want to call on all the good people of Cape Town and all councillors in this meeting to rise against spatial apartheid and stop the suffering in Cape Town. We are opposed to any sale of land that will lead to more homelessness and landlessness, and that will violently displace people and relegate them to the peripheries. We say land for people, not for profit. We will not support a motion that will take us to the days of the Group Areas Act in Cape Town. The act was a racist law of separate development that relegated, violently so, primarily black and colored people to the now gang and extortion-ridden townships such as Khayelitsha, Manenberg, Crossroads, and Mitchell's Plain. Cape Town's spatial apartheid is violent to many black and colored people today. The sale of land in Cape Town perpetuates spatial apartheid. Today we are told we have moved on and Cape Town is an inclusive and caring city. The Mayor is asking that councillors here must support this item with no information or care about what will happen to the 864 individuals mentioned in it who have lived there for 7 years, should the land be sold to a private developer. These are 864 human beings. These are mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, and children who live there. Surely we must care. These are families. Think of your own, selling your home to the highest bidder while your family still lives in it. As the good party, we are not just opposing the Mayor's recommendation. We ask the Mayor to withdraw and instead implement the recommendations from the city's own consultants in the Stedone report of 2019. The report concluded that the property can be developed into social housing with the possibility of community residential units and transitional housing with a combined yield of 845 units, which would absorb the existing occupants and accommodate approximately 1,900 people at an estimated cost of 359 million rand. Of rents were paid to these consultants. We are told this is a well-run city.
Thank you, Councillor. Moving on, Councillor Popham.
No, thank you, Madam Speaker. Asking you, Speaker, and the Chief Whip to please conduct induction programs regularly with new councillors to this council. Now, I know there's some confusion about whether we're dealing with a good councillor or Ayaz Mzansi, and we'll get difficulty to deal with the name tags at a later stage. But when we convene this municipal council, we do resolve on important issues facing the people of our city. And what's important to do before we deliberate and debate and resolve is to read the item that is before us. So for anyone to come to the municipal council and proudly share that the item before us is looking to perpetuate apartheid spatial planning and is looking to regress housing delivery, clearly failed to read the report or read it with understanding. Now, I respect the councillor who spoke before because it was his maiden speech, but councillor, what we don't do in this municipal council, in this DA-led city of Cape Town, is mislead the residents of our city with our agenda of hope and our agenda to deliver affordable housing. The item before us, Madam Speaker, seeks through the mayoral priority program and our land release strategy to release the Woodstock in a phased approach to ensure we deliver social housing and affordable housing to the people of the city. Now, we must get to the heart of the problem because it's the very good party who supported the previous item for land release for affordable housing in the city in line with the mayoral priority program, but doesn't want to do it on this item. And why is that, Madam Speaker? Because the truth of the debate for the good party is around the illegal occupation of the Woodstock Hospital. And we have been clear as a city that occupation and invasion is not a metric for qualification for housing opportunity. We must do justice to the more than 400,000 people Mam Kabozas was waiting in backyards for opportunities in our city. Does that mean that we're not a caring city to those individuals? Are we not a caring city to other communities within the city of Cape Town? I have committed as the MMC, Madam Speaker, to engage those who are illegally occupying the existing Woodstock Hospital once we get to a point where the land and the parcel of land has been released to a social housing institution or a private developer approved by the SHRA. And I will continue to do so. But what I won't do is to be held ransom by anyone in the city of Cape Town for a housing opportunity because they have illegally occupied or illegally invaded land in our city. We will continue to drive the affordable housing agenda in our city in the face of a declining physical economy, in the face of budget cuts taking place every financial year. We are sweating our assets. We are using policy incentives to drive access for all markets within our city. And so the Democratic Alliance in this municipal council supports the item before us, Madam Speaker, and I encourage the council to do what is right by the people of Cape Town and to support the recommendations in the report. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The recommendation is on page 1012, and those in favor of the recommendation, thank you. The recommendation is carried. We move on then to the next item, and that is in volume 3, item 41. We cluster items, which is 41 through to 48. And when I find it, we will start. Here we go. Councillor De Beer.
Madam Speaker, again, now finding ourselves in afternoon, so I can say that again, and Mr. Meyer, fellow councillors, and the public. Madam Speaker, this is a critical statement today, as no doubt a person can bring a multitude of politics to the table. But there's one thing that unites us, and it is not debating safety, security, and law and order within our citizenry. I'd like today to take this statement as a true reflection just of a growing frustration, a continued mantra of public outcry. But more than that, Madam Speaker, a matter that has now stretched beyond politics, but in a way has unified a portfolio committee, and that of safety security. No doubt I do not speak on their behalf, but I express my feeling today as an individual represented there. Madam Speaker, barring some small differences in the last meeting of that PC, there was a huge sense of frustration and no doubt a unified agreement that this portfolio committee finds itself drowning out of capacity and service delivery, not because the lack of expertise or professionalism in this department, but a clear lack of finance and funding. Madam Speaker, we have come to a very critical point where the MACO member ED argue that the continued collapse of SAP services is rolling over and is now the city's problem, and we're already stretching our budgets. No doubt our actions is clearly to try stopgap what SAPS needs to normally cover. There's no argument, no matter our political stance, that the safety of our citizens must come first. Because as an individual who daily see the boots on the ground, the dedicated teams, and no doubt the certificate today of performance, trying to spend as much as what we can, but we cannot keep up this process without money. Speaker, we have a few bloody months in our streets in the past. We need to weigh up now our priorities to fight crime, construction mafia, extortion, the continued pressure of cable theft, gangs, and our call center, which is basically replacing 10111. As the PC, the majority of this party is even united to have a special meeting, if necessary, with the mayor. We are battling as a PC and as a council to find money. In our opinion, in conclusion, Speaker, it's become time that we have to put priorities aside and make sure that our people stop dying on the street and the citizens are protected. I therefore request we unite behind this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Picardi.
Thank you, Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to greet everyone once again and also welcome the reports from the portfolio committees as presented in this council meeting. Speaker, we have a few reservations as the ANC on the reports that are before us, particularly on community services and health and the portfolio. We believe that, Speaker, this department has not been reaching its targets in terms of implementation, in terms of its budget expenditure, and also implementation of what they are supposed to do in our communities. Performance from the community services and health, and also the quality of and safety of the has decreased throughout. Facilities remain in bad condition, and it takes months and months in order for them to be fixed. A case in point, when you enter on your right hand side is the Langa Indoor Sports Complex. Since this term of office began, this facility has been in and out of closure due to its roof not being fixed. At a point in time when it is fixed, it takes just it is broken again or it is blown away by the wind. This just shows that the community services and health portfolio does not necessarily care about our areas. Also, the question around access to swimming pools every summer becomes a huge problem. And as people who have been in the city now throughout this term, we've seen how every year in summer we receive reports during the December holidays that many swimming pools are open. The attention as well of the Community Services and Health Portfolio Committee to look into these things and to try and make sure that implementation is fast-tracked in terms of. Moving on, Speaker, safety and security is one of the important portfolios in our city, ensuring the safety of our
Councillor Cupido.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, in terms of the rules of order regulating the conduct of meetings of the Municipal Council of the City of Cape Town with reference to Rule 24, amendments to recommendations, a proposed amendment to item C490824 here to follows. Council today is considering a proposed amendment to the sub-council boundaries affecting sub-council bylaw. Sub-councils within the City of Cape Town does not bring any real value to the residents of the city. Before the adoption of the spatial planning and land use in 2015, councillors exercised planning approval powers in the sub-council, clustered by wards in geographical areas. It therefore made sense to propose plans to be approved at a local level in smaller councils. However, since the introduction in the planning law, councillors are prohibited from making planning decisions, meaning sub-councils have now no real delegated powers. Doing away with just one sub-council would save the residents of Cape Town about 7 million a year. This means if council was to scrap the entire sub-council system,
you, Speaker, and good afternoon to the colleagues. Speaker, the purpose of this report is for Council to consider the changes to the membership of the committees of Council, which are as follows, and it's quite a few, Speaker. Councillor P. Hendricks to be added to the Energy PC. Councillor Steenberg to be removed from Human Settlements PC. Councillor N. Sono to be removed from Future Planning and Resilience PC. And Councillor Sono to be added to the Human Settlements PC. Councillor C. Davids to be removed from Human Settlements PC. Councillor A. Notowala to be added to the Human Settlements PC. Councillor S. Mamkeli to be removed from Future Planning and Resilience. Councillor A. Notowala to be added to Future Planning and Resilience. Councillor C. Davids to be removed from Corporate Services. Councillor S. Mamkeli to be added to the Corporate Services. Councillor S. Van Nelson to be added to Energy PC as well as the General Appeals Committee. And Councillor S. Van Nelson then to be removed from Spatial Planning and Environment as well as a Municipal Public Accounts. Councillor C. Owen to be added to Spatial Planning and Environment as well as added to the Municipal Public Accounts. Then Councillor Dudley to be added to Urban Mobility. Councillor N. Sukas to be added to Safety and Security. And Councillor M. Libber to be removed from Urban Mobility and added to the Finance PC. Councillor A. Davids to be removed.
Given by the mayor. However, his response is quite vague and cannot be justified in law, particularly with regard to the Protection of Personal Information Act, as well as the city's own system of delegations. Firstly, POPI provides for the lawful processing of information. In Section 4, provided that lawful conditions are met, processing in this instance means the disclosure and public information in dispute. In Section 26, when it further provides without the consent of the employee, information and special information referring to the conduct and employment records of the dismissed employees. In the mayor's response, is also is not in has been approved by the city's information officer.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to respond to that at this point?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I've noted the question, but what is why the councillor is making an issue of this at all. We are trying to establish a city that is a place that attracts the most professional people, that sets the highest standards, that sets an example of excellence, so that young people who are growing up in Cape Town today can feel like they can have a exciting and attractive career in the public service in the city of Cape Town. That they can come and apply themselves and make a valuable contribution to society. And the age-old kind of slightly insulting public image of a government worker as being an oxymoron, that we put that behind us and actually known for excellence and achievement. And if we are going to achieve that, we have to uphold high standards, and we have to say, if you are not competent at the work for which you have applied and been accepted, come and work here. If you're going to be lazy or steal or in any other way break the code of conduct for employees. And I hope that we all agree on that. That seems fairly self-evident to me. And it's amazing to me. It's been very, I think, revealing to me which parties have kind of spoken for those who are undermining our vision of excellence in Cape Town and our vision of profession. It really just doesn't make sense to me. So I stand by the city manager in this. I want us to have a place of professionalism and excellence. Your best if you residents, if you demonstrate care and go the extra mile, you responsibility. If you miss a promise, you don't care and don't demonstrate that you're prepared to go the extra mile for the city of Cape Town, or demonstrate that you are unable to do your job, then I'm afraid you cannot be a part of Team Cape Town, and we are going to make sure that you move out of this organization. I think that's a perfectly good thing to do, and I don't understand why the are standing up for the worst amongst us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We move on then to item 61, and the first speaker to this item is Councillor Majuza.
I don't know whether I'm audible, Speaker.
Yes, you are.
The presented report seeks us to take precedence from the document of systems of the lead and that adopted in March 2022. But will also appeal to base my argument, but also considering paragraph 12 and 14 of this chapter, whilst taking note of part 8, section 1, paragraph of the referred to white paper. Furthermore, Speaker, I would like us to also zoom into section 5 of section 1, section 6.2, section 6.1, and section 1, subsection 6 of the Municipal Systems Act, which all gives light to these reports to be tabled in this council by our directorates. However, just for a reminder to those who think we are here to lead by common sense rather than legislative provisions, and seemingly forgetting that the master here is our masses, not through legislatively clueless groupings, political zealousness, and partisanship. Speaker, referred to section 5 of section 1 states that members of the local community have all the rights to contribute to the decision-making processes of the municipality through written or oral communication. While subsection 1c states that the local community have all the right to be informed about the decisions taken by the municipal council or any other political structure or political bearer of the municipality, particularly that affects their rights, property, and reasonable expectations thereof. Now, Speaker, my plea to the political office bearer is that children of Gugulethu, as per the latter referred to section, demand to know about the people that has been earmarked for some facelift. The affirmation of the scheduled testing of the Mtonjeni swimming pool schedule for the last of the third week of this year's school academic year, which is the last week of the incoming month, as they have all the right to play like any other child in this municipality. Furthermore, Speaker, the people of Gugulethu and its surroundings seek further to know on the dilly-dallying games played in resuming with their sacred project of fencing their cemetery and the demands integral role with the city law enforcement in dealing with this frustrating situation, as they have all the rights, commitment of our city law enforcement in this regard. As the latter cited legislative piece comments that they have a right to decision-making that affects their properties. Lastly, Speaker, looking at the performance report or all the above, have not been highlighted, particularly when looking at the shared spreadsheet starting from page 222. That further shows that nothing under the safety of our facilities, despite the at our office are harbors, councillors and children with no security during the day. It is therefore, Speaker, as much as we have some trust with the presiding political bearer, but we expect more of such reports or further explanations from her office. It is therefore, as the ANC, we fully note this report with all the necessary consent. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
Speaker.
So, thank you. Councillor Franco? His time wasn't up. Thank you, Councillor Majuza. Councillor Franco?
Yes, yes, Speaker. Yeah. Speaker, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Carry on. Thank you. Councillor Franco? Councillor Franco, we can't hear you now. Are you muted? Councillor Franco, we can't hear you. All right. We're going to move the item. Favor of the item? Okay, those against the item? Thank you. The item is carried. We move on to the next item, which is item 68. Councillor Majuza. The items for noting, Councillor Majuza.
Yes, thank you very much again. Section 63 of the Local Government Municipality Systems Act requires a political office bearer, councillor, or staff member of a municipality or a staff member of a municipality or a staff member of a municipality to whom a delegated authority, which in this case will be the executive mayor through the MECO member, has delegated or sub-delegated a power or duty, which in this case will be your EDs and his or her teams. Report to the delegating authority on decisions taken in terms of the delegated or sub-delegated power or duty. Again, was Section 5, subsection 1 of Chapter 2 and subsection 1C of the Municipal Systems Act states that members of the local community have all the rights to contribute to decision-making processes of the municipality. EPWP, budget, public participation process and submissions by councillors, etc. Speaker, looking at page 417 of the item, I've been reading a plethora of job creation claims from the shared report. Was the directorate in discussion set at 951 vacant positions by June month of 2024? So part of the reasons of the shared vacancies on the above key performance area is the slow moving of recruitment, but the directorate is a steady recovery plan on this. However, based on the discussion that we've had in our portfolio committee, which is economic growth this time around, the e-portal platform for job applications, one of the features and requirements from job seekers, Speaker. With the PC further promised that the matter will be brought to council for review. However, I fully like to acknowledge the energy and the strides that Councillor Carl Kapenar Popar is trying to bring in this directorate. But perhaps I must say there is always room for improvement, particularly in rallying his troops more in what he seemingly want to achieve on our behalf. Speaker, looking at the key performance areas on increased supply of affordable houses, in my empirical hypothetical view, Speaker, I think at times our colleagues in administration seem to be struggling in properly rolling out, managing and coordinating their executions. I don't know whether it is a matter of being incapacitated or lack of resources, being they be human resources or financial resources, considering the directorate's underspending of about 117.9 million by the end of the discussed year. For example, if you look at the plethora of discrepancies incurred in our human settlements, you might agree with the speaker on the podium. Best example is our long outstanding houses projects such as the on poor performance of contractors, which we expect the project manager in this case. The Guguletu ERF 8448 and Nyanga's ERF 2849, which at ERF 8844 to date, 23 houses will take place in 2024, Speaker. Or to find out that there was miscommunication between the officials and the contractor. Then we were told that the handover will take place, which we fully understood, so is our beneficiaries. Do we still remember what month is it now? August, if I'm not mistaken. And you know what we are now told through the grapevine that the handover now will take place on September, perhaps the one of 2025. I don't know.
Thank you, Councillor.
Speaker,
Councillor Popper.
Through you, I hope Councillor Majingo is listening, because that was an exceptional audition for the vacant sub-council chair position of Councillor Mkasi, who is now in the National Assembly.
Councillor Majuza, don't get confused.
No, I'm telling the caucus leader that he must pay attention to the audition by Councillor Majuza for that sub-council position, which we know they're struggling to fill in deciding who will be the new sub-council chair. But let me say to my brother, who I work very closely with in the Guguletu Info Housing project, that I take his point. It is very clear from the quarterly report, he might have abused the item, but that's fine. In other views, we have taken strong action against Baseline Pty Ltd, who failed us in Makassar, and we are currently in the process of have a more efficient contractor employed to complete the civils in order for us to not miss our target on service site. I have been very vocal in saying that contractors who fail us must be blacklisted because they fail communities. They don't fail us in our homes as municipal councils. Guguletu Info, which is another issue that he raised. I'm mighty proud, Madam Speaker, that after a 10-year hiatus, we were able to pull this together in less than a year. 3 contractors on site, progressively, as he says, handing over housing opportunities to the people of Guguletu. But you know what? It is happening. It perhaps not at the pace that colleagues want, but I'll rather do it right the first time than try again like MACO members before me. And so the Human Settlements Directorate will continue in current financial. This is quarter 3 of the last financial year. Past quarter 4, we are now in quarter 1 of the 24-25 financial year. So this report is, of course, retrospective, and I'm looking forward after the mayor of our excessive and our exceptional capital performance that we take the 24-25 financial year by the horns and we deliver to the people of Cape Town. Thank you to his sub-council and his entire caucus for constantly working with me constructively on issues that matter to the people of Cape Town, regardless of political or ideological differences. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The recommendation then is on page 408, all in support. It's for noting. Okay, so we don't have to. Okay. Moving on to item 69, Councillor Majuza again.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, let me just recall that part of the terms of reference of this directorate, which is the security disaster, ensures that the city's bylaws, traffic regulation, disaster ensures that city traffic services and law enforcement. While Metro Police Department is dedicated to making the residents of our city safer and to combat crime. However, Speaker, I always like to refer to this chapter because, we don't want to express and give statements that are not legislatively supported, seemingly as if we're leading with common sense here. Section 5, subsection 1 of Chapter 2 of the Municipal Systems Act states that members of the local community, I say that again, have all the rights to contribute to the decision-making process and of the municipality through written, particularly through IDB, budget, public participation processes, also through councillors' reports or councillor submission. But however, Speaker, if you take a closer look at this department scorecard presented on page 434 to page 441, Speaker, particularly looking at the recruitment, it's not speaking on the inclusive city principle, and it's quite in contrary with the shared vacancy claim, Speaker, that is stated on page but anyway, and other emergency response to emergencies such as illegal dumpings, because the report is not speaking to other emergency responses such as illegal dumpings, cables, and quite poor response towards threatening service delivery projects. Despite the bragging of having overspent from March with an amount of 19.3 million, the department has bragged that at this quarter,
Conclude. Thank you, Councillor Mohammed.
But what we
Councillor Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Let me start by just congratulating the Directorate on their success and the award from the Mayor. I think the work speaks for itself. Madam Speaker, we have a saying in the same input for politics, which I see my colleague has taken the opportunity to do so. Very big difference between reading a report and scrutinizing the report with the officials. It's two very different things. The Safety and Security Directorate have to step more and more into the role of SAPS, where SAPS is the more senior safety body. So there will always be room for improvement in any aspect or on any measure, regardless of yet the safety and security still provides the best service to the people of Cape Town with a world-class training and professional conduct. In the report, but illegal dumping, law enforcement, solid waste, it actually falls under urban waste management and not safety and security. And the other metrics that we